Does your company need help with training and feedback? Today, we will discuss different strategies that you can implement with your company, and we'll also discuss feedback that you can give effectively. I'm Allison Kinnan, and I will introduce the problem. Our goal was to define the strategy for training by researching the best, modern, and the worst training implementations that we find. Doing this will give us a clear understanding of what is working and whether or not there is correlation to some of the strategies that are successful compared to other ones. After analyzing the strategies, we created two goals that are short-term and long-term goals for our research. The short-term goal is to understand the type of strategies that are being used for training. The long-term goal is to have analysis of companies that have been success or have failed in the training strategies that we have implemented. The question that we're researching is, what is the best training strategy organizations can implement to influence their employees to participate in training and how they can provide feedback to their employees that's in a positive manner. Next, we will talk about possible strategies to implement. We will also talk about how to provide effective feedback, and then we'll wrap up with our main ideas and points that we've discussed throughout this presentation. This is Mitchell Bryson and Michael Lumetta, and they're going to talk about the different strategies that you can implement in the workplace.
There are several possible strategies that your business can implement to improve training. First, taken from Reframing the Training and Development Agenda, an article in 2003 by Baird, Griffin, and Henderson, they claim that face-to-face interactions with content experts, practice experts, and peers provide valuable input to the learning process. They also claim that bringing employees together in the same space increases the chance that everyone will have a common understanding. But you must be careful of forcing them into learning at the same pace and using the same style rather than having an individualized learning agenda. Another strategy that they'd recommended was more coaching and less performance evaluation. They claim that a learning-oriented culture cannot flourish when employees see their managers only at performance evaluation or career review time. Managers must work with their people often enough to build trust and rapport, facilitate the exchange of experience, and they must observe several examples of behavior over time. They also recommended what they called phased learning. This includes 3 phases. Phase 1, people are introduced to concepts through e-learning and distance conferencing capability. Phase 2, which is they are brought together in smaller groups that interact to solve problems and learn from real-time challenges of others. And then they have phase 3, which is the last phase, which is people within the same unit work together on implementation products. This phased learning generally means increased efficiency. Another training strategy that Chase recommended from her article, Train, Do Not Tell in 1998, there are 6 key elements that make it easy to transform telling into training. Number 1 is incentives, like what's in it for them. 2, objectives. Must make sure employees understand what's wanted from them. 3, organization. Organize information to make it easier to remember. 4, participation. Encourage employees to ask and answer questions. 5, feedback. Let them know how they're doing. And 6, rewards. If they're right, tell them they did well. Including these steps in training helps employees quickly gain new skills.
There are several things you need to consider before picking a training strategy. First, what are your training goals for this session? Are you finding out new skills, new techniques, better workplace, safer workplace, or who is being trained? Is it a new employee, a seasoned employee, upper management? What is the training budget? And what training materials do you have at your disposal? All of these things come into play when picking a new technique to train your employees. We've came to a conclusion that our final decision would be going with the blended training approach. This approach combines online digital media with traditional classroom methods. Businesses use this approach because not one method works best for a single training program. A business will have greater training success by using a variety of training strategies throughout the entire process. Here are several reasons why we decided to go with the blended training approach. A University of Tennessee study showed that a blended learning program reduced both the time and the cost of training by more than 50%. The same study showed a 10% improved result in learning outcomes compared with traditional training. And learning experts believe that a big advantage of blending learning is that it is more closely replicates how people actually learn on the job through experience and interactions with coworkers. The blended approach works well because it has a variety of strategies to use. There are many considerations in training like subject matter, audience makeup, types of learners, budget considerations, space constraints, and compliance issues that can occur. All these considerations affect your choice on the training style. This is why the blended style is the best approach to use.
This is Jacob Eslick, and he will talk about how to provide feedback effectively.
Well, thank you, Allison. So the first thing with feedback after all this training and stuff is we rely a little too much on our emails, our instant messaging, and everything in this new technology world. So the biggest thing is to give one-on-one conversations. These are very underestimated on the direct impact on kind of how someone is feeling about that training. It just helps them understand more that someone cares about how they're doing within this company, and feedback, especially with the training, helps that overall when you're training for a company. The other thing is that there's my stuff perfect. Okay, I'm just gonna go through this stuff.
Yeah.
So we always talk about the negative and the positive feedback. So for the negative feedback is telling someone what they're doing poorly and telling them how to change it. When we hear the word negative feedback, we kind of think bad things about it. But as much as we don't want to do negative feedback compared to positive feedback, this is a very good strategy to take. With this, we are 20 times more likely to change with our feedback, as written by Bridget Redman, compared to giving no feedback at all. This is able to give them more of an understanding of, oh, I'm doing something wrong? Well, at least you're caring enough to tell me how to change. The other thing with positive feedback, that is building on someone's strengths and still stacking onto that and helping them keep growing. While negative feedback was 20 times more likely to change, positive feedback is 30 times more likely. So you say, why not just do positive feedback? Well, it's actually better to do something called the sandwich method. The sandwich method is where you do, for every 2 things of positive feedback, you give 1 thing of negative feedback. That's kind of canceling out that negative feedback and still giving that positive feedback on them. That way they kind of know what they're doing poorly, but still you're building up on their strengths as a person. The last thing is, now that we're giving them feedback about their training, we want feedback from them. So feedback from your employees helps you figure out the job satisfaction. So is this training the way that they learn the best? Is this the training you want to keep moving forward with your company? Employees can help you with that overall. And then you're able to understand the dynamics of that training and the performance and productivity that the employees feel they're getting with this type of training.
This is Mohammed Al, and he's going to wrap it up over our presentation today.
I'm gonna have the conclusion today. Throughout this presentation, we talked about refraining and training and development agenda, face-to-face introductions or interactions. Be careful of focusing them into learning to same piece and use the same style rather than having an development learning agenda, more coaching, less references, evaluation. We challenge you to take these training strategy and apply them to your business to find what can best help your employee. Thank you.